All right, moving on now. Let's go to Washington, where the FBI was able to recover over $2.3 million worth of Bitcoin from the dark side Russian terrorist group that hacked the Colonial pipeline last month. This affected gas prices throughout the country. Joining us now to talk more about this is the former Deputy Assistant to the President for Counterterrorism and the former Chief of Staff to the Acting Secretary of Defense, Kash Patel. Back with us on the show. Nice to see you, Kash. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I'm wondering two things. Why do you think these cyber attacks are happening so often right now? And shouldn't terrorism and cyber terrorism really be classified as the same thing?
Yeah, great question. So look, the cyber attacks are unfortunately happening because our enemies like Russia and China see an opportunity in the weakness in the Biden administration's national security policy. And the Colonial pipeline is just the latest example of cyber terrorism, as you say. To me, as a former terrorism prosecutor and the head of counterterrorism for a White House, there's no distinction. Terrorism is terrorism, whether you're doing it online or whether you're doing it in person. There is zero space for distinction, and it should be treated as a threat to America's national security. And look what happened when they just attacked one pipeline. It shut down the gas pipeline to a large portion of the United States and skyrocketed prices. Imagine if they did that to our electrical grid, which would also be cyber terrorism, or multiple pipelines. So there needs to be a firmer response from the Biden administration on all acts of terrorism.
Yeah, the messaging around terrorism was, if you do this and you hurt American people, we will find you and we will kill you, at the very least. And the messaging was very clear. With something like this, think about this. If they shut down our power grid, that could cost lives. The messaging, although it might sound harsh, should be the exact same. If you hurt the American people, we will find you and we will kill you. The U.S. Deputy Attorney General was just talking about this problem and how it continues to get worse. Take a listen.
The threat of severe ransomware attacks pose a clear and present danger to your organization, to your company, to your customers, to your shareholders, and to your long-term success. So pay attention now. Invest resources now.
All right, so she's speaking at the Justice Department there. Clearly, America's falling behind. Why isn't the Department of Homeland Security, though, doing more to make sure our cyber networks are safe?
Well, here's the thing, right? And that's a great point. The Department of Homeland Security is supposed to work in conjunction with the FBI, which is part of the Department of Justice.
Right.
And unfortunately, what happens is you get into a contest between national security issues such as cyber warfare and cyber terrorism, and you have people run to the camera to take credit for a problem that should never have happened, such as the attack on the Colonial pipeline. And then you have a voice such as the Department of Homeland Security drowned out by the Department of Justice. What they should be doing is teaming up together, appearing at the podium together with the Homeland Secretary and the Attorney General, because this is a national security issue. It's not something to be handled by the number two of one separate agency, as you said. And this is part of the problem that we are seeing exposed in the Biden administration's national security agenda. You said it correctly. Terrorism is terrorism, and it's the number one security threat to America, and it needs to be met head on. And right now, it is not being met head on. And I'd like to add one more thing. What is the FBI doing assisting a private company to recover a ransom payment? That begs the question to me, did the Biden administration and the government and our government know that a ransom payment was being made? And did they have anything to do with it? Because our policy has always been, we do not pay ransom to terrorists.
That's a good point. This on the heels of next week's meeting. President Biden scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin next Wednesday. Do you think the meeting should still happen? Do we really expect Putin to hold any of these Russian hackers accountable for anything?
No, they're probably Putin's friends who are getting rich off of us from this nonsense. I do think the meeting should still happen because the leaders of the free world should meet. And I'm not saying Putin's a leader of our free world, but he just happens to be the leader of Russia and one of our largest enemies. So they should engage. But I don't see the strength coming from the Biden administration. I mean, look what he's been able to do since Joe Biden's been in office to America's security infrastructure. A meeting one-on-one with him is only going to show Putin's strength and allow him a national podium to say that Russia is taking advantage of the United States. So unfortunately, I don't think Biden has the backbone to take on a Vladimir Putin. But I really hope that he proves me wrong, and you can call me out on it on your show after the meeting.
Yeah, we'll have you back on. I just think the timing of this meeting is so bizarre. Why these attacks would still happen on the heels of a meeting like this, because obviously that moves this topic to the front of the line as far as topics to address with the Russian president. I want to talk about Dr. Fauci for a moment. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy addressed that email situation. Take a listen to what he had to say.
You've got to trust the individuals to look into this. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have died. And if you've taken every certain position in it, how are you able to come back with the trust of the nation to get to the bottom of it?
All right, so what do you think? How long can Dr. Anthony Fauci last in his current position?
Well, here's the thing, right? It's just another extension of the Biden administration's national security policy. What did Trump do? We're going to do the opposite. Trump called out Dr. Fauci, and rightly so. Look, I was the principal deputy to Rick Grenell when he was the director of national intelligence.
Right.
Our job was to produce the presidential daily briefing. And in February of 2020, we briefed the president on the sensitive, exquisite intelligence surrounding the origins of the COVID outbreak. And so that information intelligence is not new. They don't need to do another assessment to see what happened and what our best guesstimate is on that intelligence. And government officials used to be held accountable when they lied to the American public or misled a White House. And it seems that if you did it under President Trump and survived into the Biden administration, you get a hall pass. And Kevin McCarthy is absolutely right. And the House Intelligence Committee and Congress in oversight should be looking into whether or not he misled the American people on the global plague that surrounded our country for the last year and a half and shut down our economy.
Yeah, Kash, I just think that I think the American people, many are having a difficult time coming to terms with the fact that maybe Dr. Fauci has been dishonest. Maybe it appears, based on some of these emails, that is the case. And I think people are struggling with that because this man was beloved and trusted for the better part of a year and a half. And now that we're finding out information that suggests that he may have been dishonest, he may have been lying. Anybody else, by the way, they'd already be gone. But because it's Dr. Fauci, he's still in his role. Kash Patel, look forward to having you back on next week after the president meets with the Russian president. Thanks so much for making the time for us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.